No, I think you're good. It's perfect.
We're live. We are live, believe it or not. It looks like we are live. And this is Nellie O'Reilly. And I hope you can see us. So, if you can see us, we are going to need you to give us thumbs up. If you can hear us, we also need you to give us thumbs up because I can't see you. We're having some technical difficulties and between Vaya and all of the internet challenges that we are experiencing lately, I am unable to use the technology that allows me to see you. But hopefully you can see us or you can see me. So, is anyone giving us thumbs up that they're able to see us?
We're not gonna get thumbs up on Facebook.
Okay, or just comment that you can hear us and that you can see us. If I actually you can't give me a thumbs up, that you can at least say you can see, you can hear before we get started with our guest this evening. So good evening. Pardon the rudeness. I am Nellie O'Reilly and I am your write-in candidate. We are here. This is the second of a series of live stream, and we are using a new technology that it's kind of creating a few hiccups for us, but I'm sure the third try is going to be a charm. For now, we want to welcome our guests. We have two individuals who have agreed to join us tonight, and we also have had the opportunity to speak to with other people who, because they were basically not able to join us live, but were very kind enough to share thoughts with us via video. So we'll be sharing those with you as well. So my producer to my right is saying that we are getting ready to introduce our guests. We have Wayne Huddleston with us, as well as Lydia Palin, or Palin, Teresa Palin. And I'd like to kind of let our members of the panel introduce themselves and tell us what they do and what makes them a part of our business sector, and what role they play or can play in the economic growth of St. Croix. So I guess we can start with Wayne if he's a. I can see Lydia's having a hard time hearing. So it can Wayne, if you can hear us, you might want to just kind of go first and just tell us a little bit about what you do, who you are, and all that good stuff.
Okay, sounds good. Hopefully you can hear me okay. My name is Wayne Huddleston. I'm the Senior Area Manager for the U.S. Small Business Administration here in the territory. My primary role is to make sure that all of SBA's programs are working effectively for small business owners in Highlands. We have a lot of different programs. Most people are familiar with our lending programs. We work with area banks to make sure people can get access to capital through loans. We also have a number of technical service programs through our small business development centers and other programs that we have online and in person to help people sort through the issues and thinking through the feasibility of their plans to grow a business. And then we play primary role in helping federal contracting entities work with local small businesses to serve small business contracts or federal contracts within the area. So it's sort of what I do in a nutshell. Small businesses, as you know, make up almost 99% of the businesses here in the territory. So our programs touch just about anyone, and it especially is prevalent when it comes time for a disaster. We have a lot of people here in the territory, of course, received some sort of disaster assistance in some way, whether it was the pandemic or during hurricanes in the past. So, that's me. That's what I do here in a nutshell.
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you. Thank you for that. I'm sure a lot of those people who are watching or who will join later and watch later will recognize your face and recognize the role of the organization. We have Lydia, which I know Wayne is familiar with. Lydia, you're next. If you can share with us what you do and your concerns with respect to being a business owner.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Lydia Palin. What I do, I work at Sonia's LTD, and I own a business besides that at Panama, which is a little boutique retail women's store. Um, and I decided to join this conversation, this chat today, because I need to know how can we help the island in terms of economy wise.
Okay. So, I'm glad that is joining us because Lydia is one of the examples of a business owner who started a business almost 2 years ago, and she was very excited about her business. I know Lydia, and we were excited for her as she opened her boutique, and then she struggled like many local businesses struggle, particularly small businesses and first time businesses. They kind of struggle with a number of things: the cost of energy, even being able to recruit and retain. And as you heard Lydia, so she works. She has a full time job and she has a business that she pays other people to kind of run the business for her, and she is very excited about growing her business and has reached out to a few resources on the island for assistance and has had some difficulties really getting the help that she needs as a small business. And I'm sure that many of you either watching or you know someone who is eager to start a business that has an idea and is just not able to pull the trigger because they are lost. They don't know where to start, and even if they have some money to begin a business, there are so many other things that go into running a business successfully, and they get lost in the process. So I was hoping that Wayne could share with us, like someone like Lydia and anyone else who's listening, you know, what is your advice for people who are hoping or have a desire to start a business, a small business, and how your organization can assist them to make that dream a reality?
So, sure, I'd be happy to start. My advice to anyone who has not yet started a business and just has an idea and is thinking it through is to be very careful and thoughtful before you jump into starting a business. There are a lot of things to consider, and what we really hate to see is when people are good at doing something, whether that is cooking or something like that, and then they decide to turn what is their hobby into a business, and then they pour a lot of money into that, but haven't really thought through the details of how is this actually feasible, what makes sense, what is this going to cost me, and then they get so far down the road in the process that sometimes it creates a situation where it's hard to extract themselves without losing a whole bunch of money. So I highly encourage people to sit down, use some of our tools. We have a lot of templates and resources online to help guide people as they think through the feasibility of their ideas and plan out where that's going. We also have resources here on island, especially at the early stages. We have one called SCORE that helps people think through their ideas and work through business plans. We also have one called the Small Business Development Center, where there are paid professionals who will sit down with you and think through the different aspects of your business plan and guide you as you start that process. So best advice I can give someone starting off right at the beginning is to make sure you give this a lot of thought and gather the expertise that is free and available to you to think through things.
Thank you, Wayne. So, because I'm familiar with Lydia's unique situation, and I know that she has tried to avail herself of your resources to help her business move forward, I think Lydia would be a great person to tell us what her experiences has been, what her experience has been trying to reach out to those resources, and perhaps even share with you what frustrations may have existed in her quest to do that and what obstacles she encountered, because I'm sure she will be speaking on behalf of many other small businesses on the island. So Lydia, are you there with us? Can you speak to that? Because I think it will inform a lot of the conversation moving forward.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, yesterday was my last. I want to say yesterday, the 17th was my last conversation with the young young ladies at the center right there next to T-Mobile. They try to help me since, should I say, March or May, but there was no succeed. I couldn't make it. I didn't know you need to get a business degree in order to do a business plan. You know, it is hard. They guide you, yes, thanks for that. But these numbers, these jargons, these words, all of this, I look for different people. I pay different people to help me to do the business plan they asked for to put together. And it was a failure, totally failure. As I said, they did a good job. We sit down, they explained to me, but there is no one capable on St. Croix to do it, and it's frustrating.
You broke up there. You said there's no one capable to do a business plan.
Exactly. I pay different people to help me to do a business plan, and every time I carry my business plan to the SBA, SBDC, um, no, it was something was wrong. You know, something was wrong. The last one I carried, I sent it before I went to Japan, and we had our meeting on the 17th, and it was a failure. That was the last one. I thought it failure.
Wayne, is there so for someone like Lydia, is there's what can you say to someone like Lydia who is frustrated at the process with the process? One and two, I sense, and because I know Lydia and I know her business, and it's a lovely boutique, and she's really put a lot of energy into it. And I know many businesses in the same situation as Lydia. Are there any resources in your center, maybe like uh, bilingual staff, or do you have access to resources that can literally break it down for someone like Lydia and other people from the who are from the non-English speaking community who are more comfortable having these conversations about business in their language?
Sure. So a couple things there. One, an easy answer for bilingual. We have, of course, we have a full office in Puerto Rico as well. We can certainly connect anyone who is more comfortable having conversations in Spanish about their business and their business plan, and link those up with either the SBDC or our SBA office in Puerto Rico that can talk through that. Now, our SBA office doesn't work through the plans, but they can work closely with our Small Business Development Center, and they have advisors and templates and plans and can work through every stage of that in Spanish, if that is more comfortable for you. I don't think the SBDC has staff members that are fluent in Spanish, but we certainly have that option in Puerto Rico for sure. Now with regards to the plan being a failure, I don't know the particulars of your specific business plan and how it's going through. The SBDC's role, for that matter, SCORE, what their role is to do is to give all the tools to do an objective feasibility analysis of that plan so that you have a realistic picture of whether this can be successful or not. That part should be working effectively. Now, they can't necessarily make every plan a successful plan if there are some aspects to that need significant change. But they can help you point out the parts of that plan that are problematic before you go too much further. But as you said, I don't know the details or particulars or parts of your plan where they were saying, that needs work. But their job is to advise on it. They're not supposed to. They can't really write the plan. They were supposed to help that business owner create that plan and think through it themselves.
Okay, yeah, I hear that, and I understand. And I was trying to help Lydia navigate the process myself, and when we were able to identify a mentor, I think that's what you call it. It escapes me. What happened was we were able to mentor that we connected her to was in St. Thomas. Now I know, and I'm aware of people on St. Croix who say, because I've heard them say, that they are members of the, I don't, I may be calling it incorrectly, but that they call themselves mentors and that they're able to work with people who want to start a business to help them navigate the process, to include putting together a business plan. But I was kind of taken aback by the fact that that particular individual was located in St. Thomas, and it was going to become it was going to be challenging for Lydia because you're doing the same thing. You're communicating with someone who's not with you, who's not able to sit down with you and go through what the business plan, what are the challenges, and how she needed to tweak it to meet the expectations of a potential lender. So, is there like a list on your website or anywhere where people from St. Croix are able to identify assistants on St. Croix, people, mentors locally that they can literally sit with, over a cup of coffee and go over their business plan? Wayne.
Issue that we have here. So we have two primary entities that are of our resource partners that assist people with business plans and all sorts of aspects. We have a bunch of different entities that help with that. One is the Small Business Development Center. One is SCORE. We also have women's business centers, not one here right now in the territory, but we have some in Puerto Rico. We have a Veteran Business Opportunity Center that assists this territory via Puerto Rico. The one you're referring to, it sounds like SCORE, which is the Service Corps Retired Executives. That is a volunteer mentoring organization that assists people from developing the plan and thinking through the ideas through all sorts of aspects. And they can sit down, have coffee, talk through a plan. But that is strictly volunteer driven. When I first came to the territory, almost 10 years ago, there was no SCORE chapter. And we worked for several years. We had some stuttering through the Hurricanes Maria and Irma, and then through the pandemic. But the primary driver of that is finding qualified volunteers. And it has been very difficult to find qualified volunteers here in the territory. What we eventually did 3 years ago is we established a partnership with the SCORE chapter out of Florida. And so that Florida chapter oversees what's happening here in the territory. We have one volunteer on St. Thomas. They're looking for more volunteers in the territory. Now, they do a serious vetting of that because they don't want people to be sent towards mentors that don't really know what they're doing. But it's very difficult to find volunteers. So what we recommend is try to meet with a local mentor, but they can also connect people with people in Florida who have a wide variety of expertise. They don't know necessarily the territory that well, but they can certainly help work through plans and work through a lot of issues. They know a lot of different industries. There's a lot of Spanish-speaking people in Florida as well who can help out. But it is a struggle. We don't have many mentors that are volunteering here in the territory for this organization, unfortunately. But on the other side, we do have the Small Business Development Center where they do have paid staff who should be always available. Of course, you have to schedule an appointment. But since they are paid staff, that means there always is someone available here on St. Croix or St. Thomas or even St. John.
Yeah, I hear you, and thank you for that. So it sounds like maybe Lydia can access help from your Florida office if maybe there's someone who speaks, who's bilingual, and if there's a way to maybe connect her. I really would like to see, because I know when we mentioned Lydia because she agreed to be on here, but I have heard from many other individuals who have an idea and they'd like to make that business idea, that entrepreneurship, the spirit that they have, and they don't know where to go and where to start. And so, Wayne, if you would speak about the process, because I understand that you first have to go to a lender. The lender has to turn you down. Am I correct? Can you speak to how that works, please?
Well, sure. I'd be happy to talk about the lending part. But first thing I would say is the lender would not be the first place you go to when you're trying to start a business. That would be down the line. But if you are trying to get a loan, I wouldn't necessarily say the lender's the first place to go. I would start with the SBDC, let them know what you're trying to do, and then help them kind of make someone or talk to a prospective borrower about how to be ready. I also do regular webinars and in-person sessions about once a quarter to talk about what it takes to qualify for a loan to grow your business and the different parts that you have to think about. Now here locally, the lending environment is unique. It's different than it is in other parts of the country and in Puerto Rico. There is a program through one lender, which is the Virgin Island Economic Development Authority. They will provide some loans. They don't do very many of those, but they do require that people go to other banks and get a denial before they will consider providing a loan. But that's just one provider. What I always recommend is that if someone is at the point where they need a loan, ideally they should have talked to a lender before that point. But if they haven't, they should first consider who they are banking with, either personally or with their business. Where do they have their accounts? And then go to that lender. And if someone doesn't know who to talk to at that lender, they can always reach out to my office or to SBDC, and I will tell you the exact person you need to talk to at that particular lender, whoever it is here in the territory. And then have a meeting with them and sit down and say, here's where I am as a business. Here's what I think I need. What is your process for applying for a loan? And make sure you understand what financial statements they're going to need in that process, and then begin collecting those. And then that's why I would partner with the SBDC. So as you build that package, they can sit there and look at it to say, okay, I know this lender is going to need this much in collateral, or this much in credit, or this much in savings that you're putting in. And here's how you need to make sure that when you're arriving at that number, you're very clear on how that's going to be spent. So that lender will need to know that before they can get to a yes. And one of the things I see most frequently that make it very difficult for lenders to get to a yes is that borrowers come too late in the process and their business is struggling in some way and struggling with the cash flow in the business. And so they're looking for a loan to be a lifeline. And lenders will not provide a loan as a lifeline. What they insist on seeing is they understand that there can be some cash flow challenges in every business. But before they can approve a loan, they need to show, or the borrower needs to show to a lender that I've identified why there is a cash flow problem in my business. And here's how I'm going to address it to make sure that I can get this done and still pay back the loan over time. So, so that you're not going into a lender and saying, I need the loan to address my certain cash crunch, but I haven't identified the reason of why I'm in this cash crunch. So.
Right, or show that you have the ability to pay it back
Right.
if you get the money. So Wayne, we were able to interview two business owners, and we wanted to kind of go to those videos. Were very brief so that you can listen to their concerns and see if perhaps maybe there's something you can add that would help them. And Lydia, I think it's also going to be probably very, for you, it might be very helpful in understanding you're not alone and seeing what similar situations are occurring with businesses around you. And maybe even, we might even hear suggestions from them on how they were able to overcome those challenges. So I think we're going to go to Lori Watts. She's Heron. She is the owner of From the Gecko. Everybody knows her. So we're going to go to her first, and then we may just go straight into the next video and come back to the two guests, okay? So take it away.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Lori Hirons, and I am the owner and proprietor of From the Gecko, a island boutique that has been around for, well, next year we will celebrate our 35th year here on the island. Very rich, very storied history. And I am the third owner.
No, I'm not sure if you can hear me. I can see the video, but I can't
When
hear
Nellie
it.
first reached out to me to talk about my life as a business owner here and what's important, what's challenging, all of those sort of things, I'm going to go on the what's important side first. And what I consider important, especially from the government, is to be a partner. to eliminate roadblocks, not create them for the businesses. Small business is the lifeblood of any community. I don't care where you live or work. Small businesses are the engine that go. And, you know, especially right now in September when it's slower season and it's almost exclusively locals that are around, it's important to support those businesses during the lean times so that they continue to stay. And the reason I bring that up is we've had 2 businesses on Company Street that have recently closed. Now, one of them closed because of a health reason, but the other one closed because she was really struggling to find an audience, and she had lovely things in her store. She was a delightful woman, but it is hard to start a new business. And, you know, between you know, fees for your license, firemen's appointments, you know, we just had a round from Waste Management of things that we are required to have. It is a long laundry list of what it takes to be a small business. And I think the other challenge, whoop, there goes my clock. I think the other challenge with that is if you're new, as this woman was.
Nellie, I'm not sure if you can hear me. I don't want you to go too much longer in the video
great
if no one can hear it,
relationships
but I
with the
can't
Department
hear
of
it
Licensing
on
and
my
Consumer
end.
Affairs.
Just know.
The women, and that's primarily who I've worked with there, are amazing and really do a great job. But I have said this more than once. I think there needs to be one point in and one point out for small businesses so they understand what the expectation is from the government. And then I think, you know, likewise, when new businesses are established, I think it would be a great idea to have like a packet, whether it comes from DLCA, I always get that wrong, DLCA, or whoever. Lieutenant Governor, I think, is responsible for small businesses. I think that needs to be something that every new business on the island gets, or every new business owner gets, so that you understand expectations. So that's kind of on the what I would hope for kind of side.
So I wanted to, I understand that the members of the panel that joined us, with us tonight, that were not able to hear the video, although it was on Facebook. So those on Facebook were able to at least watch that. Oh, they couldn't hear. They can hear. Great. So, so Wayne, before we go to the next video, what I wanted to tell you is that Lori focused mostly and mainly on the government side, resources within government, and how small businesses need to be able to get greater assistance and access to government resources and agencies, DLCA, for example, being one of those. And I thought that was her comments are very salient because, for example, and I'm not sure, Wayne, how much you can add to this, but what may other states be doing? What might other states be doing differently from us to assist small businesses? And I'm speaking of government, not necessarily SBDC, but government. Are there any things that you have read about that you feel can be replicated here that will help small businesses?
Puerto Rico, different from other states. But even in states, when you start going down to the county and city level, they all have different requirements on registering a business in their certain area, and getting a business license in that area, and the different requirements they have to go before that becomes approved. One of the things I've seen in the States that I thought is really kind of an innovative way to build excitement and get a lot of businesses through the red tape is they would have what are called business in a day conferences. And so they would have a big event that they would advertise to say, if you're thinking about starting a business, come to this big event and get everything you need in that one day. So they would have the equivalent in another place of a DLCA, of a health department, of a fire and safety code, the technical service providers like SPDC, SCORE, others would all sit there, and someone can come in and say, I have an idea. I don't even know how to begin in getting my business license. And they would say, okay, go to the DLCA table, start the process right there. And if you need to go here for, Department of Health or whatever, or schedule your inspection, you can get it going. And that was a really kind kind of exciting event. A lot of people would come with their ideas and they struggled on where to go and how to get it started, but they can come to this event and have everybody there at one time. And then I think if I remember correctly, one thing that the legislature had passed several years ago was that after a certain time period, if someone starts the licensing process with the LCA and the holdup is administratively or the bureaucracy on territorial departments to help get that license done, that someone can be issued a temporary license. And as long as they submitted the paperwork and did it on time, then they can get a temporary license while it's being reviewed. So that can be helpful as well. But I thought these business license in a day workshops and events where they brought in all the providers were pretty helpful in other states I've seen.
Yeah, there were some challenges with, I know back in the day with DLCA connecting all of the different pieces, and many business licenses were stalled because you needed to have a tax clearance letter and all of that, and the legislature attempted to streamline that process so that after a number of days, the license would be issued. I have to say, DLCA has really amped up their game. I see that you can actually get a license renewed online. It's not perfect, but it's much better than it was 20 years ago. The business in a day idea, I think, is phenomenal. I could see that working out here, and I'll reach out to the DLCA commissioner and kind of just whisper in her ear and see if perhaps she would be interested in doing something similar. Thank you for sharing that, Wayne. Lydia, is there anything that you want to add to what you've heard? Do I see Lydia? She is there. Lydia, to what Wayne has discussed, do you have any questions for him? This is a very important opportunity for you to ask him.
I want to understand that the girls did help me. They guide me. But all this work that you have to do in order to get a business plan, I didn't know you have to go so far, business administration, in order to understand what you're doing. They did guide me. They did a good job, but in my end, it was a failure because I ended up doing nothing. And the second part is, having said that, I would like some information about Puerto Rico, the ladies team that works from Puerto Rico, to see if I can understand them better in terms of the word they use in order to do a business plan.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy. We have some Spanish resources on our site. And Lydia, I can't recall if you have my email, but shoot me an email tonight, and tomorrow I can connect you directly with the people in Puerto Rico. They are not necessarily authorized to assist in the territory because they have their geographic region. But if I am bringing this to them and asking them, they will help and assist. And we have other resources. So I'll make sure to get those resources to you and give you some links that you can look that may be able to help.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wayne. Thank you for that. So we're going to just go to our next video, which is Kamal. He is the owner of Levels, a young businessman that has his own challenges that he's going to be sharing with us. And then after that, we'll come back and we'll just wrap it up with some thoughts on how we can move forward and how we might want to start a conversation about growing St. Croix economy.
My bartenders are struggling. Most of them have 3-4 kids. They're working their asses off. Some of them have government jobs, and their relationship situations are not even any better. But that's just the climate of relationships in the Virgin Islands, right? People are stressed out, and they don't see a way to get out of the wheel of just making a little bit and spending all of it. You know what I mean? And there's a level of uncertainty that they live by that I experience as well. right? So my bartender was sitting with me the other day, and she's like, I don't know how to pay rent. I said, and this is I was like, girl, I don't know how I'm gonna pay. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I didn't say girl, but it's just, so for me, there's just a level of uncertainty that you can't plan for the future. Because if you can't plan for the future, then there's no growth. There's no looking forward. And I think that's
So it's really telling, right? We hear a young man speak about the experiences that he sees other young people uh, live through in this economy, and the uncertainty that exists. And I feel I hear that message, and it resonates with me because I hear it from many young people that it's their future seems very uncertain. They don't know where they're gonna go to for a job. It's better to just leave the island and forget about it. And we need to be able to recognize people like Lydia and people like Kamal who took a chance, right? Because starting a business is risky. It's a huge risk that you take, and they need to have access to resources and advice and counseling and support from the entities that exist around them. And so I'd like to, and I know this isn't specifically related to what you do, Wayne, but as someone who lives in this community, who comes in contact with business owners and with our community in general, what would you say to someone like Kamal and the people that he hears say that there is so much uncertainty?
Well, it's tough. The drivers of that uncertainty are really big macro issues. I would say to get involved in voting and finding people in the legislature who can help address some of these infrastructure issues that drive some of that uncertainty. Power, yes, is a big one. We have such an enormous rate on power here that people that would affect anyone, no matter where you are, whether you're in the States, whether you're in Puerto Rico. If they had to contend with power rates at 40 cents and more a kilowatt hour, lots of businesses would fail and wouldn't be able to make it. So these are important infrastructure issues that the territorial government can assist with. They can cut red tape on bureaucracy around licensing. Power is just an enormous beast that everyone has been grappling with around here for a long time. But it's very difficult, and it is difficult, especially for those in the hospitality and service sector, as he mentioned, to hire employees. There are a lot of restaurant businesses and hotel businesses that have seasonal workers that come down, and less are coming back because they can't afford to pay rent and just live on the basic salaries that are available. It's tough. But one of the good things about our territory being so small is that one thing can make a huge difference. So I know there's a lot of political opinions on the impact of the refinery, but the fact is, if that refinery was up and running again and had all those jobs, that is a huge trickle down effect of jobs and money and opportunity in this territory, and especially on St. Croix. That would make a huge difference. So we just gotta, there are lots of pros and cons to each thing, but one thing like that can make a huge difference for us.
Jobs, 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 and so true. And when you mentioned the lending program with the Economic Development Authority, I was reminded of what a huge failure that program was, in as much as it was created and intended to help. And what I remember with that program is that there was a piece of it that required due diligence, because if you're going to lend money, you need to know that you're going to lend money to someone who's going to be able to pay it back. And when during my term in the legislature, I was appalled by the fact that there were some changes made to the program that did not require collateral, right? And so a lot of us talk about the collateral issue sometimes is a problem for small businesses because they just do not have the ability to put up any collateral for a small loan. But in the situation of the Virgin Islands Economic Authority, uh, there were instances where collateral was actually available, but was not used as to secure the loan. And then there were instances where addresses were not correct, so there was no opportunity to collect monies, and those delinquent loans sat on the books for a very long time, and the government didn't really execute on any of those loans that went into default. And what I want to really say from that is that a revolving loan means that I lend you money and you're going to pay it back, and that's going to feed back that same pot so that I can lend back. And that expands my ability to reach more businesses. But in the case of that particular program, because it was operated and it was run into the ground, loans were not paid back, so that pot never grew large enough to be able to feed other businesses that were in need of loans. And that program failed. And I hope that today we've learned from those mistakes that politically, sometimes we make decisions thinking that we are helping, but we really are not. We may be helping a few, and those who really need it and can pay it back do not have access to those loans. So part of what we feel is important is to grow St. Croix. St. Croix is the largest of all of the 3 islands. Some people say 4 with Water Island, but St. Croix is the largest and has capacity. Like, we have the space to create, to build micro communities, which is a thing now. Smaller communities for empty nesters, so smaller communities for couples that are not interested in growing their families immediately, and also bringing to St. Croix communities of people that are 55 years and over, because these are people who are now retired or semi-retired, and are able to still work, but would love to transfer from where they are to a place like St. Croix, where it's beautiful and people are friendly, and the sun and the beach and all that. But healthcare becomes an impediment for people in that age bracket. And so part of our platform includes ensuring that we can prop up our healthcare system and the delivery of healthcare services by partnering with like a public-private partnership with organizations that are already established in other states that would potentially consider St. Croix as a place where they would come, they would help us deliver healthcare services to our residents, and also build a part of our island as medical tourism. We see those things. We know that these are not initiatives that are going to happen overnight. They are going to take time, but it's important for us to discuss alternatives to the refinery, because we lost a lot of jobs with the refinery, and a lot of our local people left and took those skill sets to Houston and other locations, and with them they took their children, and so some of our private schools suffered significantly, and so there is this. It comes full circle, right? If we as a government are not able to think outside the box and look at the potential that exists on St. Croix to build our economy, to grow our economy so that it would benefit the entire territory, if we're not able to do that, then we are going to see continue to experience the brain drain that we see today, and hear from people like Kamal and others that there is very little hope for them, and there's this feeling of defeat from both sides. So I kind of wanted to throw those pieces out there to get from you guys a sense of whether you feel that those initiatives would bode well for St. Croix, and what would be your concerns if you heard someone say, let's try to talk about St. Croix becoming a place where we can promote our island as a medical tourism location, a medical destination. How does it look for us to expand our reach to developers in the mainland and invite them to build micro communities here, and to promote our island to retirees. How would you react to that, Wayne? I
And
don't
elected
know.
officials,
Still
I
with
think we
us?
need to have a. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I think at the economic development level, we need to have a serious consideration about what we want to be as an island and the direction we go. So the territory has some incentive programs, such as a very significantly reduced tax rate down here if people move their businesses down here. But that's a very broad just incentive, and you basically get whoever's going to be applying for that. And I know that the boards of the EDA and others review those, but I think it's more important, as you alluded to, is to address where our big weaknesses are, because a lot of businesses will shy away from moving down here because, yes, healthcare is a serious concern for our territory, and people are concerned about moving to a place that they cannot get the quality of healthcare that makes them feel comfortable. Or maybe if they have kids, they want to move to a place where they can be assured they are not diminishing the quality of education for their children by moving here. So perhaps we need to target our incentives to say, okay, if we're going to be a healthcare destination, how do we make that happen? How do we recruit the best possible healthcare providers? Talk to them. What do they need to be able to move down here? What is going to be incentivizing them the most? And let that private industry build that healthcare. There is a business here on St. Croix that has been growing. I'm sure you're familiar with what's the mental health business?
Pro Health?
Island Therapy Solutions. The owner created a new mental health retreat center on the North Shore over out west. And that is catering to high wealth individuals who want to leave the States and go to a tropical area that's still within the United States and have a retreat center for weeks or months to get the health care they need to either deal with their substance abuse or whatever other issue they're dealing with. And this is a unique retreat center, but that is privately run and privately managed, and I think it's running very well. Whatever we can do as a territory to incentivize that private growth in healthcare, I think will help us a lot. And I think if we can, as a territory, incentivize that private growth in education, that will help us a lot. And then we can begin targeting manufacturing or other businesses. There's a program we have in the federal government called Hub Zone, where we give a significant incentive to businesses who locate here in the Virgin Islands in the government contracting process. And I have seen businesses who have learned that the Virgin Islands is what we call a hub zone. They have moved their business from the States to come to the territory and establish and set up shop just to help them compete with federal contracts. It's a unique designation we have here in the territory, and I think the territory should make that a centerpiece of its outreach to go to who are the federal contractors that can do their jobs remotely or set up a shop in the Virgin Islands. What makes sense for our territory? Let's go target them and let them know they can have this unique hub zone certification benefit here in the territory that will give them a big leg up in federal contracting. We have lots of tools. We just need to have the right focus by the territory officials and the economic development people to make that happen.
Yeah, I agree. Some of the conversations I've had outside with people just talking about what do you see St. Croix being able to offer, and there's talk about we can become a place for veterans to come to receive healthcare services, and for the most part, currently veterans have to travel to Puerto Rico, and there is the language barrier, but there is also the fact that if you're not feeling well and you have to get on an airplane and then you have to be wheelchaired throughout the airport, this adds more stress to the person who is currently needing medical attention. And so I envision our hospital, so whatever healthcare facility is established, extending those services to veterans by partnering with the Veterans Affairs at the federal level, and that would require the delegate's office to be involved. and maybe dedicating a wing of that hospital or that facility for veterans so that they can remain here. In addition to that, the fact that we have the South Shore that could become a place that we encourage the military to establish a quasi base here, a place where Navy perhaps, even if we used our airport, the Air Force, they are so. I believe St. Croix has so much landmass. We're big enough to accommodate a few of these initiatives, and we have to all get on the same page by first understanding that to grow the St. Croix economy, we're going to need to grow our population. And I know that some people are very concerned about that because growing the population, it may mean that we end up with other people coming from other communities that may affect the way in which we operate and our culture and our traditions. But I submit to you that if we do it in a culturally sensitive manner, if we agree as a government that these are the types of initiatives that we are willing to support, and these are the conditions in which we are going to do this, that we would be able to ensure that there is no gentrification, to ensure that there is a very methodical and thoughtful way in which we add population to our island in areas that we can target, like healthcare. Because imagine if we became a place where individuals came for medical care in the Caribbean rather than Puerto Rico, because we speak English, right? That then perhaps we can attract those individuals that graduated here and left, became doctors and nurses, and entered other medical fields in other states. And they are making huge contributions in other communities because they don't see a way for themselves here. And it's time for us to bring back those people who want to come back. In fact, I always reference the 2040 vision. There were people that were surveyed in that report, and 8 out of 10 Crucians said that they would come back home. They would consider coming back home and working home at home if they had access to jobs, right? And so and that's why I said jobs, 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 because at the end of the day, it is about jobs and it's about the economy. And the government cannot continue to be the largest employer in the territory. It doesn't work. It's not sustainable. We need to grow our tax revenue, and that cannot happen by taxing the people that are already here. It has to happen by bringing people to our island and promoting our island, not just to tourists, but to folks who would like to make St. Croix a place where they plan to live the rest of their lives. And we see people come and move here and open businesses, but half the time they leave at the age where they require medical attention because our healthcare system is not meeting the needs of all of our residents. So, guys, I'm so thankful for the opportunity that you have provided us by sharing your thoughts and your concerns. Wayne, thank you so very much for taking time to join us. I know you're a busy guy with a family and you have very long days. So I'll let you close out if there's any other thought you want to share with us before we sign off.
No, I thank you for the opportunity, Nellie. I really appreciate it. And anytime, I'm happy to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne, so much. Lydia, if you're still with us, I'd like you to just we lost Lydia. So guys, I want to say thank you so very much for joining us this evening. Hopefully, those of you who are not able to watch the live, you'll be able to come back and replay it. And I hope you learned some things from Wayne, as well as that you were able to listen to business owners and their challenges. I'm sure that you have your own, or you know someone who has challenges. You can comment below. You can send me a private message. We will continue to do these live streams every week. We will be addressing a different topic. If you want to learn more about our platform, particularly with respect to economic growth, you can go to nellieforstcroix.com. That's nellieforstcroix.com. And you can read about our platform. If you have any questions, any thoughts, you can share those with us via email. We would like to also thank you for continuing to support us. Remember, we are running a write-in campaign, and in order for us to get your vote, you would have to go all the way down the ballot to the very last line after the last candidate. That would be line 23, and I would need you to write Nellie. That would be Nellie. That's all you have to write. It's very simple. It's not difficult. We propose to you that we bring a lot of energy. We are relentless in our advocacy for St. Croix. We are very passionate about education, and I'm ready. I'm ready to go back to the legislature, and I'm ready to represent you. And I'm asking you to consider us when you go out to vote on November 5th. Now, remember, you have until October 5th to register to vote, and early voting begins October 14th. So, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you, Lydia. Thank you, all of you. We'll see you here again next week.